Good evening to everyone. Well, this is our first video, our first English video. It's a Dhamma talk, in this case about the collectedness, and we talk about some different aspects of the meditation itself. So we're going to use the Anguttara Nikaya 5, Sutta 27. Now I will share with you. All right. I use the Bhikkhu Bodhi translation. So the translation is collectedness, concentration of or collectedness, and is Samadhisutta. So I'm going to read all the sutta because it's very short. I'm going to read the sutta and then we're going to share some comments about it. So, bhikkhus, being alert and mindful, develop collectedness that is measureless. When alert and mindful, you develop collectedness that is measureless. 5 kinds of knowledge arise that are personally yours. What 5? The knowledge arises that is personally yours. This collectedness is presently pleasant and in the future has a pleasant result. The knowledge arises that is personally yours. This concentration is noble and spiritual. The knowledge arises that is personally yours. This collectedness is not practiced by low persons. For the knowledge arises that is personally yours. This collectedness is peaceful and sublime, gained by full tranquilization and attained to unification. It is not reined and in and checked by forcefully suppressing the defilements. 5. The knowledge arises that is personally yours. I enter this collectedness mindfully and I emerge from it mindfully. Because being alert and continually mindful develop collectedness that is measureless. When you are alert and mindful, developing collectedness that is measureless, these 5 kinds of knowledge arise that are personally yours. So, I will start again, and first of all, I want to say something that is very interesting because the word samadhi have different perspective. We can find as the result of the noble path. And then I think in this sutta is the word samadhi or collectedness is used as the process of meditation itself. So start being alert and mindful, develop collectedness that is measureless. This is talking about the Brahma Viharas. And it's very interesting because the word measureless we can also find in different suttas that, for example, 43 and 44, Majjhima Nikaya, that is the liberation of mind that is measureless. So we here, the Buddha is giving the instruction that we can develop a collectedness of mind that is measureless. And within this process, we can be alert and mindful. So this is very interesting because the word alert and the words alert and mindful are related with collectedness. And the result of this is measureless. So it's nothing to do with the one-pointed concentration. And this is very important because when we meditate, generally we put too much effort and we try somehow to control the process of the meditation itself. And the Buddha here give us a very interesting instruction. The alertness, the mindfulness, and the development of the collectedness is a very open process that we could train with the perspective of an impersonal process. So, when alert and mindful, you develop collectedness that is measureless, five kind of knowledge arise that are personally yours. So this is very interesting because when we are alert and mindful and we have this kind of collectedness, five knowledge arise in our minds. What's five? The first is this collectedness is presently pleasant and in the future has a pleasant result. So this samadhi, this process of meditation, this process of stabilization of the mind is present here and is pleasant here, sorry, and pleasant in the future. And this have a relationship with the with our first intention when we start to meditate. So we have to be very clear about how is our intention when we meditated. We have an open and gentle intention regarding the object of meditation, regarding the loving kindness, or we try somehow to force the process of the meditation. So if our intention is open and gentle, the process will have somehow a similar characteristic. And we have to trust in this because this has to do with the first step of the noble path, that is right view. There is a mundane right view that essentially talk about that we have certain condition and we have a certain result of that condition. This give us the opportunity to observe the second step, that is the intention, the right intention. So if we meditate with this kind of open mind and that is measureless, we're going to enjoy the process of meditation, and this somehow bring us allows us to put some kind of good and comfortable intention, and then in the future when we meditate it again, we're going to feel that intention, or we're going to share the characteristic of that intention. Second, the knowledge arises that is personally yours. This collectedness is noble and spiritual. Well, this phrase we can explain in many ways. I think that this kind of collectedness that has the root in being alert and mindful is a powerful development of the noble path itself. To be noble and spiritual, we have to understand that the right effort is the core of the noble path, and this brings us always the attention of how the mind's attention moves from one object to the other. In other words, we have to be very alert about how is our state of mind right now. So the first knowledge and the second knowledge have a relation. The other aspect of this collectedness that is noble is also we can understand that the word noble is always referring inside the suttas a person that at least have the first supramundane attainment, that is the stream entry. And if that is the case, we're going to find a person who develop his meditation in a very deep way and understand this condition that the mindfulness, the right effort, develop this kind of collectedness. The third knowledge arises that is personally yours. This concentration or this collectedness is not practiced by low person. What is the meaning of this? Here, a low person means a person that do not follows the precepts. So the 5 precepts are really important to develop the mind. If we do not follow the precept, we're going to uh, find a lot of hindrances because our mind will be with many conflicts and remorse. So if we don't follow the precept, it's really hard to settle the mind, and generally we're going to find that our mind is very constricted and anxious. And also, when we start to fight with this anxious mind, generally after a while, we're going to go to the other side, that is the mind is go lazy and we have drowsiness. So it's really important to follow the precept because this give us the condition gives the condition to the mind to be peaceful. That is a reality, peaceful, and this going to facilitate the process of the samadhi, the meditation itself. 4, the knowledge arises that is personally yours. This collectedness is peaceful and sublime, gained by full tranquilization and attained to unification. It is not rein and in and check it by forcefully suppressing the defilement. I think that this is one of the most important knowledge of this sutta. So this collectedness is peaceful and sublime, gained by full tranquilization and attain to unification. Well, we can read this phrase in different way. First of all, I think that we talking about the jhana. It's not maybe talk about a specific jhana, but I think it's talk about the process of the jhanas. So we have a full tranquilization and attain unification. The mind is unified. That is mean that the mind is very comfortable with the object of meditation, but is not a fusion between the mind and the object of meditation. That is really important because if we put too much pressure on the object of meditation, we maybe gain 2 things, or a headache, or maybe we can achieve an absorption that maybe is very pleasant, but when we going out to the absorption, we're going to feel like all the sensory data attack us. And generally, the aversion is very powerful. So if we reread the first instruction, being alert and mindful and develop collectedness that is measureless. So the characteristic of this collectedness is gentleness and softness. We don't need to push too hard, and we have to trust in this process of the gentleness and the 6 R's. So when some hindrances arise, we just recognize, and when we start to recognize the hindrance, we start to recover our mindfulness. We just release, we relax the mind, the body, and the head, we smile, and we return without rush to our object of meditation, and we continue with that. So eventually, if we repeat this process of the right effort, the mindfulness will grow, and the mind by itself will develop this kind of collectedness. So then the Buddha give this great phrase. It is not rein in and check it by forcefully suppressing the defilement. So the Buddha said here, we don't have to try to control the process of meditation. So we don't have to be afraid of losing our mindfulness, because we have to start the meditation with the openness and the perspective that is probably that we lost our mindfulness, but we have the 6 hours to return to our object of meditation. And we don't need to forcefully suppressing the defilement. So this brings us a very good insight that when we practice twin, we just practice this instruction. So we are not afraid to lose our mindfulness. We don't try to control the process of meditation. We just understand that the process of meditation is an impersonal process that are conditioned by previous uh, how is the word? By previous experience. So in our present moment, we can control the present moment. We can control Vedana. But we can observe how mind reacts to that present experience. And if we let it go, that reaction, and we return by relaxing the mind, we're going to start to develop the mind in this way. There would be a measureless collectedness. And this is very important, not only for the beginner, but also for the advanced meditator. So we are open to anything that is happening in the meditation. And with this openness and with this gentleness, we possibly could enjoy the process of meditation uh, and not nourish our expectation about how I want, or want, how I, no, not want, but how I crave the result of the meditation. And finally, the 5 knowledge is I enter this collectedness mindfully, and I emerge from it mindfully. This is really important, and I think that this declaration is going to reinforce the previous knowledge. So when we enter in this kind of collectedness, we are doing mindfully. So we are aware of what's going on in our mind moment by moment. We don't enter like a trance or like an absorption. We know what is going on in our mind when we enter in this kind of collectedness, and when we emerge from this kind of measureless collectedness, we also know, oh, now I'm out of that process. So I think that this declaration, these 5 knowledge, give us a very broad spectrum of what's going on, or what we should expect in our meditation. So when we have an intention that is gentle and open, we can expect that we're going to feel a very pleasant present. And of course, this is going to seed the future also outcomes. Also, we can understand that this kind of collectedness eventually maybe guide us to the noble path. The other knowledge is that if we don't follow the precept, it's really hard to gain this kind of alertness and mindfulness, and of course, the development of this kind of collectedness. The fourth is that this kind of collectedness is really peaceful and sublime, and the mind will tranquilize by itself and attain unification by itself, and we don't need to control the process and not try to suppress the defilements. And finally, we can be aware of what is going on in the jhana, in the samadhi process itself, and when we going out. So, what is the last meaning of this? When we finish our meditation, we can continue with this kind of mindfulness and with this kind of attitude. So we can be gentle with our mind, and we can see how our minds works when we perform or do our daily activities. So the Buddha said, because being alert and continuous mindful develop collectedness that is measureless. So this is essentially the instruction. We have to be being alert and mindful, and this going to give us this kind of collectedness that is measureless, that is very open and soft. And when we nurture this kind of collectedness, these five knowledge arise in our mind. And if you notice, the last part is knowledge arise that are personally yours. What is the meaning of this? I think that the meaning of this is that you gain this knowledge by your own experience. And I remember what Bhante said, that Bhante Vimalaramsi, that he said that we have to be our own teacher. So we receive an instruction from the Buddha or from the guide, and then we have to confirm this instruction. And when we follow the instruction and we saw that this instruction leads us to a mind more open, a mind more alert and mindful, we can be sure that this is the path to the liberation. So, do you have any questions? It's a very short sutta, but has a, wait a minute, here it is. It's a very short sutta, but has a lot of meaning. And if we read this sutta and reflect on it, we're going to find a very good friend, I think. This sutta is a very good friend of the meditator, because help us to understand that the process of meditation is impersonal, and we don't have to try to control the outcome of the meditation, and we can trust in this process. So the meditator have only two tasks. The first is to stay gently with your object of meditation, and the other one is apply the 6 hours every time that the mind starts to wander. Then the mind eventually is going to start to enter in a deeper state of mind and going to be settled, and little by little the tranquility and the insight will grow, and eventually this bring us relief and understanding. So, any questions? You can ask in Spanish too. All right. Well, we're going to share some merit. Uh, give me a moment. Here it is. Oh, no. Ah, here it is. So, we're going to share merit. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kind of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty powers, share this merit of ours. May the long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.
Gracias.